Hello, welcome to the Daily English News program on Azərbaycan Televiziya with the most important events of the day. I'm qocaman. On September 21st, a high-level meeting to mark the 75th anniversary of the UN as part of the 75th session of the UN General Assembly was held. President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Chairman of the Non-Aligned Movement, İlham addressed the meeting in a video format. Heads of state and government of 182 countries will address the 75th session of the UN General Assembly in a video format. President İlham Əliyev's speech was the sixth in the line. The fact that President of Azerbaijan addressed the meeting among 182 countries around the world as a number 6 undoubtedly is a manifestation of the respect and trust shown to President İlham Əliyev at the international level, both as President of Azerbaijan and as Chairman of the Non-Aligned Movement. It should be noted that the head of state addressed the meeting in two parts, as Chairman of the Non-Aligned Movement and as President of Azerbaijan.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, the Republic of Azerbaijan was elected as the chair of the Non-Aligned Movement in 2016 with a unanimous decision of all 120 countries. In October 2019, Azerbaijan assumed the chairmanship of the Non-Aligned Movement during the 18th summit of the heads of state and government held in Baku. I have the honor to make this statement on behalf of member states of Non-Aligned Movement. Member states of Non-Aligned Movement highly appreciate the convening of this high-level meeting to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the signing of the UN Charter. The United Nations, its charter and the international law remain indispensable tools and central in the preservation and maintenance of international peace and security and the strengthening of international cooperation. While acknowledging its limitations, the UN remains the central multilateral forum for addressing global issues and challenges presently being confronted by all states. The NAM affirms that many new areas of concern and challenges have emerged, which requires a renewal of commitment by the international community to uphold and defend the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations and the principles of international law. Armed conflicts, aggressive expansionist policies, terrorism, separatism, transnational organized crime and extremism, coupled with human rights abuses, financial crisis and environmental degradation, continue to affect millions of people around the world. The world today needs more than ever respect for international law and effective global institutions to ensure compliance with it. The role of the Non-Aligned Movement in this regard is of utmost significance. Throughout its history, the movement has played a fundamental role in strengthening international peace and security and persistently called for strict adherence to the norms and principles of international law. The NAM attaches great importance to strengthening the role of the United Nations and stresses that efforts should be made to develop its full potential. In its 75th anniversary, we call for further strengthening and modernizing the United Nations, revitalizing the UN General Assembly and strengthening its authority as the most democratic, accountable, universal and representative body of the organization, including in the area of international peace and security, and reforming the UN Security Council in order to transform it into a more democratic, effective, efficient, transparent, and representative body, and in line with contemporary geopolitical realities. The United Nations is the only global body with universal membership and is therefore well positioned to address global economic governance with the objective of reaching sustainable development. The role of the UN in global economic governance should thus be strengthened. For the United Nations to fulfill its role in global economic governance, the political will of all member states to commit to the UN processes and to multilateralism and its underlying values is critical. Ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated once again the significance of multilateralism. The movement reiterated its strong concern at the growing resort to unilateralism and unilaterally imposed measures that undermine the UN Charter and international law, and further reiterated its commitment to promoting, preserving, revitalizing, reforming and strengthening multilateralism and the multilateral decision-making process through the UN by strictly adhering to its Charter and international law with the aim of creating a just and equitable world order and global democratic governance. This year is also remarkable for the NAM since we celebrate the 65th anniversary of the adoption of Bandung Declaration, which embraces the founding principles of the movement. Since their inception, the Bandung principles have been navigating the countries that had expressed their adherence to them through the turbulences of the Cold War period. Following the end of Cold War, the absence of two confronting blocs has in no way diminished the relevance and validity of the Bandung principles. Quite contrary, in light of more complex challenges to peace and development, they have become more important than ever. Both anniversaries will enable us to take stock of the progress made in achievement of overreaching goals enshrined at the UN Charter and Bandung Declaration, and reflect upon how we, the member states of the United Nations, with shared vision and combined strengths, should respond to the multifaceted and emerging challenges that we continue to face. Thank you, and now I will make the statement in my national capacity. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Azerbaijan became a member of the United Nations on March 2nd, 1992, after the restoration of its independence. Independence is the highest value and the reflection of hope and aspiration of the Azerbaijani people who always wanted to live in a free and independent state. During almost 30 years of its independence, Azerbaijan has achieved tremendous progress in different spheres. Under the UN Charter, all member states have accepted the obligation to refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. However, Armenia brutally violated its obligations and used military force against Azerbaijan. Armenia occupied Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 other regions of Azerbaijan. 4 UN Security Council resolutions adopted in 1993 demand immediate, complete and unconditional withdrawal of the Armenian armed forces from Azerbaijan's occupied territories. Unfortunately, Armenia continues to ignore these resolutions. Armenia conducted ethnic cleansing against the Azerbaijani population in the occupied territories. More than 1 million Azerbaijanis became refugees and internally displaced persons. Armenia committed Khojaly genocide. More than 10 countries have recognized the Khojaly genocide. In blatant violation of international law norms, Armenia implements a policy of illegal settlement on the occupied territories. Armenia destroyed historical and religious monuments that belong to the Azerbaijani people in the occupied territories. Armenia deliberately targets civilian population and perpetrates provocations along the line of contact and Armenia-Azerbaijan border. The last such provocation was carried out this July along the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. Our military servicemen and a civilian were killed due to the artillery bombardment of Azerbaijan's Tovuz district, while extensive damage was inflicted to civilian infrastructure. Armenian sabotage group attempted to penetrate through the line of contact. The head of this group was detained by Azerbaijani military servicemen on 23rd August 2020. He confessed that the group was planning to commit terror acts against Azerbaijani military servicemen and civilians. The Prime Minister of Armenia deliberately undermines the format and substance of negotiation process under the mediation of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs. His statement that Karabakh is Armenia is a serious blow to negotiations. He puts groundless conditions to the negotiation process. His unacceptable so-called 7 conditions to Azerbaijan have been rejected by us. We have only one condition to achieve the peace. The armed forces of Armenia must withdraw from all occupied territories of Azerbaijan. The entire world recognizes Nagorno-Karabakh as an integral part of Azerbaijan. The Armenian Prime Minister announced the establishment of civilian militia consisting of tens of thousands of civilians who will be forced to undertake military actions against Azerbaijan. This clearly demonstrates new aggressive intention of the Armenian leadership. The Armenian Defense Minister threatens Azerbaijan with so-called new war for new territories statements. The glorification of Nazism is a state policy in Armenia. Notorious Nazi general Garagin Njde has been turned into national hero. The policy of Azerbaijanophobia is prevailing in Armenia's official ideology. Hatred against Azerbaijani people is instilled in the young generation. Recently, Armenia has adopted its aggressive and offensive military doctrine and national security strategy. The national security strategy contains racist, chauvinistic, and Azerbaijanophobic ideas. The aggressive rhetoric and provocations of Armenia show that Armenia is preparing for new aggression against Azerbaijan. We call on the UN and international community to urge Armenia to refrain from another military aggression. All responsibility lies on the military political leadership of Armenia for instigating provocations and escalation of tensions. Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict must be resolved on the basis of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, according to the UN Security Council resolutions. Azerbaijan has built fruitful cooperation with the United Nations. Our country was elected to a non-permanent seat of the Security Council in 2012-2013 with the support of 155 states. Furthermore, Azerbaijan currently holds the chairmanship of the non-alignment movement with the unanimous support of 120 NAM countries. Non-aligned movement's online summit in response to COVID-19 was held on our initiative in May 2020. During the summit, I proposed on behalf of the non-alignment movement to convene a special session of the UN General Assembly in response to COVID-19 at the level of heads of state and government. More than 100 countries supported this initiative. The 31st special session of the UN General Assembly was convened on July 10, 2020. I believe the general debate of the special session at the level of heads of state and government will serve as a framework for a comprehensive evaluation of the pandemic's impact on all affected spheres. It will also contribute to the efforts of eliminating its consequences. Thanks to undertaken measures, the situation with COVID-19 has remained under control in Azerbaijan. The World Health Organization named Azerbaijan as exemplary country in the fight against the pandemic. We have made voluntarily contributions to the World Health Organization in the amount of $10 million. During COVID pandemics, Azerbaijan provided humanitarian and financial assistance to more than 30 countries. Azerbaijan plays an important role in the promotion of dialogue of cultures. Azerbaijan is one of the world's recognized centers for multiculturalism. The Baku process, launched by Azerbaijan in 2008, aims to strengthen intercultural dialogue. The Baku process brings together member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and Council of Europe. The UN General Assembly's resolutions have recognized the World Forum on Intercultural Dialogue held in Azerbaijan every 2 years as a key global platform for promoting intercultural dialogue. The 7th Global Forum of the UN Alliance of Civilizations was held in Azerbaijan in 2016. Furthermore, Azerbaijan hosted the first ever European Games and the 4th Islamic Solidarity Games in 2015 and 2017, respectively. These sporting events have also made tangible contribution to intercultural dialogue. Azerbaijan is a stable, modern, democratic country. Development of democracy and human rights protection are among top priorities of our government. All fundamental freedoms are fully provided, including freedom of expression, media freedom, freedom of assembly, religious freedoms, as well as development of civil society. We launched broad political dialogue initiative several months ago. All major political parties supported this initiative. The political dialogue which successfully started will help to strengthen our political system and serve the cause of sustainable development of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan's economy has developed rapidly, and its GDP tripled in the last 17 years. As a country with significant progress in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals, Azerbaijan has been one of the few states to submit voluntary national reviews to the UN twice. Azerbaijan ranks 54th among 166 countries in the Sustainable Development Goals Index, according to the Sustainable Development Report 2020. In the course of current discussions, I am confident that we will provide open and strong support to the UN, a symbol of multiculturalism and international cooperation. Azerbaijan is prepared to work jointly with other countries to strengthen the UN further and boost its relevance and prestige in international relations. Thank you.
On September 21st, President İlham signed an executive order on the additional measures on the continuation of reconstruction of highways in Sabail district of Baku. According to the executive order, 1,900,000 manats are allocated to Azərbaycan Avtomobil Yolları State Agency for that purpose. Azerbaijan's Minister of Defense made a statement on the escalation of situation by Armenia on the line of contact and along the state border with Azerbaijan. The statement reads, "The situation on the line of contact between the Armenian and Azerbaijani troops and in the direction of the state border with Armenia is increasingly aggravated by the enemy. Recently, there has been an increase in cases of gross violations of the ceasefire by the units of armed forces of Armenia, regular shelling of our public settlements, civilians and infrastructure near the line of contact, the use of large caliber weapons, reconnaissance, sabotage activities against the positions of our units, as well as the widespread use of unmanned aerial vehicles have led to serious aggravation of the situation on the front line. In all cases, the enemy's provocations were suppressed with the use of the branches of troops of the Azerbaijan army, and it suffered heavy losses. So as a result of actions of our air defense units and other tactical, an air vehicle of the enemy was destroyed last night on September 21st at 9:20 a.m. as a result of another provocation of the enemy in the Tovuz direction on the Armenian-Azerbaijan state border. A serviceman of the Azerbaijan army, Junior Sergeant Məmmədov was killed. We declared that the military political leadership of Armenia bears the entire responsibility for the aggravation of the situation at the front. President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham Aliyev, during the participation in the groundbreaking ceremony of the Absheron field naval operations on September 19th, in his interview with local media, as usual, reflected the historical realities and based on real facts exposed the true face of the Armenian leadership. The traditional false and hypocritical statement issued by the Armenian Foreign Ministry on this issue shows that the country is still unable to accept the bitter truth, stated the head of press service department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan, Leyla Abdullayeva. Quote, "Prerogative leadership of this country is far away from a proper assessment of the situation in the region and ongoing processes around and providing interests of its nation like its previous criminal junta regime. Unfortunately, pursuing an independent policy on the basis of national interest and perception of the benefit of peace, security and welfare in the region have not been granted to Armenia yet. Irresponsible and provocative behavior of Armenian leadership aggravates tension in the region and thus destroys the opportunity of resolution of the conflict caused by Armenia itself by negotiations. Attempts by the Armenian Prime Minister to change the format of the negotiation process, making unfounded remarks about the talks, absurd statements made in August 2019, the attack of the Armenian armed forces on the Azerbaijani-Armenian border on July 12-16, 2020. The sabotage attempt of the Armenian Sabotage Intelligence Group on August 23rd, the demonstrative implementation of the policy of illegal settlement in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan and other such provocations are a direct blow to the political settlement of the conflict, and the responsibility lies with the Armenian leadership." End of quote. There are literally no negotiations on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. We will not participate in negotiations just for the imitation. In an interview with Azərbaycan Televiziya, Public Television and Real TV, President İlham Aliyev stated that the senseless statements and provocative steps of the current government of Armenia make the dialogue process meaningless. Recent events showed that the opposite side is trying to commit new provocations. If provocations are repeated, Azerbaijan intends to inflict a more crushing blow on the aggressor and thereby put an end to its aggressive policy.
The political démarche of Nikol Pashinyan's government started with a statement, "Karabakh is Armenia, period," brings the hopes for progressive negotiations to an end. The non-constructive course of official Yerevan due to military sabotage actions increases the likelihood of inciting hostilities in the region. It's not Azerbaijan that speaks about the military option, but Armenian representatives of the separatist regime. It seems that the approach of official Baku to the problem within the framework of international law caused the aggressor to have different emotions and false ideas. They still think that they will manipulate the lie that an Azerbaijani Waskar, having violated the state border, entered the territory of Armenia, and that this could cause a global escalation. However, this is not part of our military concept unless we are seriously provoked. If they do, then there will be no limits for us. Let everyone know that there will be no limits. If they are breaching international law, why should we abide by it? We will breach it too, but the end will be bitter for them. There are salient points in the statement of the head of state, and Armenian leadership must draw lessons from it. Indeed, Azerbaijan does not pursue any goals in the territory of the occupying country, but if the enemy continues to provoke and tries to recreate a conflict situation, this time Baku will not repeat the respectful attitude towards international law demonstrated by it during the July events, because the observance of the law is the duty of not only Azerbaijan, but also of the aggressor state. If Pashinyan continues to speak out with military rhetoric and engage in subversive activities, then he will face the conditions dictated by the laws of war and not by ceasefire. This literally will be the end of Armenia. They are preparing for a new war. There is a concentration of their forces near the line of contact. We see everything and track everything. Of course, we will defend ourselves. If they want to learn a new lesson, then we are ready for this. Experts have no doubt that Pashinyan's team has internal reasons for bringing the regional threat to such a level. Today, Armenia is at a political and economic risk, and reports prepared by various think tanks show that the pandemic is calling into question the future of the occupying country. For example, according to the World Bank study, 36% of Armenia's population perceives the coronavirus as the #1 problem for the country. 33% of respondents consider unemployment a priority problem, and 54% the deterioration of the material situation of the population due to the epidemic. The declared mobilization in Armenia in such a situation, unable to cope with the military power of Azerbaijan, the creation of partisan detachments from supposedly popular volunteers, the recruitment of women under the age of 70 to these units, the creation of weapons like the Russian Kalashnikov are just cheap consolation for the Armenian society deceived by Pashinyan. From this point of view, the advancement of 7 conditions for the continuation of negotiations and the implementation of the policy of illegal settlement of the occupied territories, although calculated to drag out time, will not save Armenia from the bitter fate awaiting it. This is an open insult to us. Do they think we can tolerate that? Who is doing this provocation? They are. We do not commit any provocations. We have stood our ground. The Prime Minister of Armenia puts forward 7 conditions to us. First of all, who are you to speak to us in the language of conditions? If we wanted to talk to him in the language of conditions, his political life would not last long. I have said that we are rejecting these nonsensical conditions. We have one condition: they must leave our lands unconditionally and completely. This is reflected in the UN Security Council resolutions. They are staging some comedy-like trainings there. In other words, every single step is an open provocation against us. It becomes clear that these and previous statements of the President of Azerbaijan caused a shock effect in the aggressor country. Armenian politicians and media urge the interested parties to respond openly to the processes. Even former President Serge Sarkisyan suggests that Yerevan officially recognize the separatist regime in the event of a military intervention by Azerbaijan. Of course, in the conditions of the current irresponsible activities of Pashinyan's associates, such a step is not excluded. However, in this case, Armenia will suffer a complete collapse not only in the military but also in the political plane.
The thesis of President İlham Aliyev spoken out in the interview with the local media on September 19th caused a great resonance. The European Union Politics Information and Analytical edition of the European Union released a report on İlham Aliyev's interview. The edition cites the statements of President İlham Aliyev about Armenian aggressive policy. Quote, Armenia has put forward territorial claims against Turkey. This is reflected and enshrined in the constitution. Today, Armenia is trying to revive the Treaty of Sevres. How can a small country living in poverty, which has built a state not on its own lands, put forward claims against a country like Turkey? Let them look at their potential and Turkey's potential at least. European Union's politics highlighted President İlham Aliyev's view on close relations between Azerbaijan and Turkey. Our close ties with Turkey will be first developed, as great leader Heydar Aliyev said, based on the one nation, two states principle. In all issues, all matters, we stand by each other. End of quote. 92 cases of the novel coronavirus were registered in Azerbaijan. 81 people recovered and were released home. One citizen tested positive for the COVID-19 virus died. The overall confirmed cases in Azerbaijan have reached 39,280 with 36,836 recoveries and 576 deaths. The number of active infections is 1,868. To detect new infection cases, 1,057,803 tests have been conducted in Azerbaijan so far. The task force under the Cabinet of Ministers reported. That was all for today. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.